Swifter, start up your Xcode and break out the popcorn, because in this video series we're going to build the Showrunner app. Now, as my current students know, this was one of their actual midterm exams, so they're watching this to review the results after they've taken the exam, but if you're following on YouTube, you can pause at each question and try the exam to test yourself out on your own, or you can use this as a following along learning video since I'll be demonstrating the solution and explaining all the steps along the way. My students were required to build this app in a single 2.5-hour sitting as their second midterm of the semester. They used Xcode, but they couldn't use the internet except as indicated in the exam to access the API or to download resources, and they were allowed to use one double-sided 8.5-inch by 11-inch page of notes. Now, this is our typical setup, and while you can look up things online when you're in industry, your employers are also going to expect a decent amount of recall level knowledge, especially as part of interviews for jobs and internships. Now, my students took this test in their 12th week of our Zero to Full Stack University course. Many had not taken a programming class before this class, so you can see that we go pretty fast in this course. And for those following along YouTube, at this point in the semester, the students had finished through the Catch 'em All chapter. They built their Pokédex, but they haven't yet completed the last app, which is the Snacktacular app. Now, there's a lot more we could do in this app to make it look pretty and to sharpen up our code, but what we wanted to do in the 2.5 hours was demonstrate several skills in the limited amount of time available. So here's a look at what they built. First, when you launch the app, you hear a sound. The app starts with a blank screen. The logo fades in a style inspired by HBO. It takes 5 seconds to do so. And after 4 seconds, the remaining UI objects fade in over 1 second. Now, you can enter any word or phrase to search on. Students need to replace any space characters so that a correct URL can be formed because spaces can't be used in URLs. Now, clicking the search button segues and passes data to the view controller with the table view. The search string is used to construct an API call for the TVMaze API. Students needed to parse out the JSON, which included arrays of key value pairs plus keys that pointed to values that themselves had complex key value pairs. So there was a decent amount of having to look at JSON and then figure out how to create data structures to parse that. Results are returned to the table view, sorted alphabetically, but students could use a segmented control to sort by average rating. They also had to deal with the fact that the JSON might be null or returning nil values for any of the values that they accessed, so they did need to deal with optionals. Selecting a cell segues to a detail view controller that shows additional data on that show. Labels are expanded as needed. For example, here there are multiple genres, so there are multiple lines in this label. Not shown, but students also needed to parse out some HTML tags that were part of the description area. And that's it. So it was a decent challenge for our students who've only had 12 weeks of coding experience, many of them at least. So let's solve this piece by piece in the next playlist. Hope you enjoy this. Giddy up. Now, students get instructions when they start the exam, and then if you scroll down, you'll see that there's a URL for a Google Drive where they can download an image for a logo, a sound, and an optional app icon set. So if you're following along, you can visit bit.ly/showrunner-app, all lowercase, highlight the 3 files, right-click to download them to your drive, decompress the zip, and when we return to the exam, we're going to perform the exam in multiple parts. And the first thing that we do is we actually dive into accessing the JSON via the API call, so we don't even start with the UI. Now, one thing I recommend to my students when working with JSON is to first get the most basic information at the root level of the JSON. Now, in this case, we're just going to get the score value that you see here. It's a simple numeric value. We'll decode it as a double, but notice that the root value doesn't start with a single key value pair. Instead, it's an array of key value pairs, and we can see that because the first character in the JSON is an open square bracket signifying an array. Now, here's some data from a sample API call that I list in the exam. You'll find this at api.tvmaze.com/search/shows?q=alien. That's all lowercase, the URL that you see here. Now, the single word after q equals is the word alien, and that's actually what we're searching on. This URL actually makes the API call and gets the data. And what we see in the browser is all of the data that's returned that's associated with the word alien. Later on, we'll learn how to perform the search with user input. And I have a JSON formatter extension in my Chrome browser, and I showed students how to install this at the beginning of the Weather Gift app, and you'll also find that on my YouTube channel. Now, you see that each element in this array of JSON contains a score key that's associated with a value that's a double, and a show key, which points to a much more complex set of key value pairs. So for now, let's just focus on the score key to make sure that we can call this API and get at least some data back. So in part one, we need to create an app called Showrunner, and in that app, we'll create a new class called Shows. Classes are types, so we use upper camel case as per the Swift convention, and the string property inside will be called URL string. Again, properties or variables are constants, so we have lower camel case here, and we'll set this to a fixed query for now, so fixed URL. And again, we're going to update the app later on so that we can pass in a URL that will perform a query for a phrase the user has entered, but that will be later on. So I'm just going to copy this URL. It's the same one that I showed you earlier so that I can just paste it into my code. And let's open up Xcode, create a new Xcode project, iOS app, next. Project name, Showrunner. Our interface is storyboard and the lifecycle is UIKit. That's what we're using in this course. Next. I'm just going to save this to the desktop by clicking create. I'll expand the screen. And then I'm going to create a file for that shows class, and I'm going to do it just above viewcontroller.swift. So I'm going to right click on scenedelegate.swift. I'm going to select new file. These should be iOS files, and this is going to be a straight up Swift file because I'm not subclassing any of Apple's classes. I'm going to create my own new class. Click on next. The name is capital shows, create. Then we can enter class, capital shows, open and close curlies. And our first property is going to be var space URL string equals, and in double quotes, I'm going to paste in that URL that I copied from the exam. So then on the exam, we advise to create a data structure named return that we'll use to retrieve score, and that is an element of an array of data that's returned by the API at the query that we just entered. And then we're going to add a getData method to the shows class that we just created, and that should get an array of this return struct that we just created, and we're going to call that returned. Now we're going to verify that this works by printing the returned value that we just got after we've decoded this using the JSON decoder and getData. So we'll return to Xcode in the shows class, and we'll create that return struct with struct, capital returned, colon codable. Remember, we need to make things codable if we're going to use these structures to decode JSON, so that's very important, and that's capital codable, open and close curlies. Right now, this only has one property. We'll say var score colon double. Now, it's very important that the score is named exactly like the key in the JSON that's in our browser, and that's what that value was, lowercase score. Then we're going to write our getData function, and our students are doing it this way in class. We're going to set this up so that it has an escaping closure, so that we can write a closure after we call the getData function, where the code inside of that closure will execute only after we've gotten our data. So the way we do that is we say func getData, and then inside of parentheses we'll say completed colon. Now completed is going to be a flag inside of the function below that's going to tell us, hey, the function is done. We say at escaping after a colon, then we'll have empty parentheses, draw an arrow, empty parentheses because we're not passing anything in or out of the closure, close the function definition with a parenthesis as well, and open and close curlies. Now I like to start the getData function by printing out the URL that we're about to access, and this is really useful for debugging, just in case you need to look down at the console and copy the printed URL and make sure, hey, did I form my URL correctly? So we'll just say print, and in parentheses and double quotes, we are accessing the URL, string interp, URL string. And I like to put emojis into messages that print out in the console, so since we're accessing over the web, we'll put a web emoji in here. Next, we need to create a URL, and that's because a URL that iOS uses is a different type than a string. So we'll do this by employing a guard let statement. We'll say guard let URL equals capital URL, open parenthesis. We're going to create it from a string, so select this option with string, and the string we're going to pass in is going to be URL string, else open and close curlies. Then we'll print out an error. Error could not create a URL from string interp URL string, and make sure in any guard statement that we have a return inside of the curlies. Now, also vitally important, whenever you return from your getData function, you want to make sure that you call that completed flag. So I'm going to copy completed, paste it in down here, and we'll just put an open and close parens after it. So remember, guard acts like a bouncer. It lets code continue if the URL can be created with this let statement, but if this fails, we'll get a nil, and then we call the completed flag and exit the function with return. And in front of error, we'll print angry emoji. Next up, we'll create a URL session. So we just set up a constant to simplify the term URL session. Let session equals capital URL session dot shared. All that does is save us a bit of typing, but then we're going to get data with a data task method on that session. So we'll say let task equal session dot. We want to select a data task, but we want to select this option with URL with a completion handler that gets data URL response and error. Those are all optionals that come in here too. Now the URL that we're going to pass in is going to be the URL that we just created. I'm going to double click on the completion handler. We see that this is in the trailing closure format that I like so much, and we'll name these three optional values data, response, and error. Now the first thing that we'll do is we'll check for our error. So we'll say if let error equals error, open and close curlies. Then I'm just going to grab this print statement up here, paste it down below, but I'll modify it so that it says error. I'll cut out the rest, but in string interp, I'll put error.localized description. Now with this API call, we can just ignore response and just deal with the data. And we do that inside of a do, try, catch. So we'll say do, open and close curlies, catch, open and close curlies. The catch catches an error that's thrown, so I'll just copy this print error statement up here, paste it down below and modify it, and I'll just proceed error with JSON. So it says JSON error in here. Then in the do clause, we're going to decode our JSON using the JSON decoder. But you know what? Before that, a lot of developers forget to put in task.resumed. So to make sure that we don't forget that and make that mistake, right after the curly that ends the let task equals session.data task method, we're going to say task.resume open and close parens. So that is necessary to make sure that we actually execute the data task that we're setting up. Then we're going to go back in the do clause and we'll say let lowercase return, we could call this anything, but that's a good name, equals JSON decoder, open and close parens, dot, and we want to select decode. Now notice that this throws, which is the reason why we have to use the do catch clause. And then for the type, we want to decode what we're getting back from our JSON. Now normally we just put in returned.self because we're getting back a single key value pair data structure. But here we're actually getting an array. So we don't want to say just return.self. Again, remember our JSON, it starts off with a square bracket. That means it's an array. So we got to make sure that we're getting back an array. We want to enclose this capital returned in here, which is the name of the struct that we created up above, in square brackets. That means we're returning an array of returned. And then the data that we're going to get back is data. Now the data that we got back was an optional, but we know if we get this far, we didn't get an error, so we can force unwrap data, put an exclamation point after it. That should be okay. And if for some reason things didn't work out and we got a nil, we wouldn't crash, we'd just throw the error, catch it in the catch clause, and execute the print statement indicating the error. And I got an error in here, and bonehead move. Of course, since it throws an error, we got to put a try in just before we do our JSON decoder, so we'll put try in there. And then right below this line, we're going to print out, here is what we returned, string interp with that return constant that we just got back, just to make sure that we make the API call and we get a result back. And so that we can see this easily in a console, I'll put a cool smiley emoji in front because getting back JSON and parsing it is quite cool. And now another thing that's vital to include in our getData function, we need to indicate that we've got back data from our API call, so we need to call our completed flag. Now this is going to tell the code in curlies after our getData call that it's been waiting for our results, that either we've got data or we've got an error. So we'll put completed in right here before the curly that ends the data task call, and make sure that you've got open and close parens after completed. Remember, completed is just this word that we used in our function definition up top. We also correctly called completed if we failed in the guard statement, but we need to call it down here too. So now we have a shows class with a getData method. What we need to do in order to make sure that we execute this is we'll do this over in viewcontroller.swift. We're going to ignore the user interface for now, but just since our app is going to run and it's going to execute viewcontroller.swift, we'll first create an object. We'll call that shows lowercase, which is going to be of type the class shows that we just created. So we'll declare and initialize this shows object, and then down in view.did_load, we'll call shows.getData, and we should be able to look down in the console. And to keep my students on track, I let them know, hey, if everything is working okay, this is what the console output should look like. So over in viewcontroller.swift, let's create a property by declaring and initializing a shows object with var lowercase shows equal uppercase shows open and close paren. Then down in view.did_load, we'll call that with lowercase shows.getData. We've got the completion handler in here, but we won't do anything inside of this now. Nothing's happening with the user interface, but we'll go ahead and build and run. Our code executes, no errors, hammer time. And let's take a look down in the console. We see the output exactly as we said it would look like on that exam page. We can hide the variable pane and expand this a little bit, but we see that we're turning scores from 19.195599 all the way down to 12.93973. Now, I did warn you that the score values might change slightly, but as long as this looks structured more or less like this, you're getting back score data, roughly the numbers that you see here, you're in good shape. It does seem that the API changes dynamically what these score values are over time. I don't know if they get new data or they change this based on queries. None of that is really important. Again, those are values we're not going to use in the end app, but we wanted to make sure, hey, could we set up an initial data structure? Could we make an API call with a URL? Could we get data back? Check, check, and check. We're ready to move on and get the more complex data from this API. Now again, we're not using score, we just used it here because of the two key value pairs that were in our initial array. It's the only one that was a basic key value pair. So now what we can do is we can comment score since we don't need it anymore, and let's dig into show, which is where all of our data is, but this is much more complex. We can see that this key show points to a bunch of other key value pairs. So let's first start out by doing something a little bit simple. We'll try to get this name value that's in here. Now the value that's associated with the key name is inside of the key show. So what we're going to do in our app to mimic this is we're going to create another struct named show, that's capital show. It's going to have a single property for starters, a string variable called name. That's going to be spelled the exact same way that we see here. And then we're going to expand the return structure to include a property named show of type show. And then when we build and run, things should look just like this. So back in shows.swift, let's comment out score since we don't need that property anymore. And we need to get something inside of a key named name, which is going to be a string. So let's create a struct which is going to grab that value. We'll say struct capital show colon codable. It's always got to be codable if we use it to decode JSON, open and close curlies. Then it's got the property var name colon string, and then up and returned, we can put the property var show colon show. So just to really hammer home what's going on here, we need to gather this value. In this case, it's the resident alien value. It's a string, which is associated with this key. Key value pairs are what JSON's all about. Now that's why we needed to create a variable that had the same name as this key. So that's what we did. This is a name. It holds a string, which is what this value is. Now name here in our JSON is inside of show. So this key points to some complex JSON here. So what we needed to do was we needed to create a variable called show that was of a type struct that had a name variable inside of it. Show name, show name. Now we need to make sure that our variables have the same name as the key names over here. The structs could have been named anything, but it's good practice to name the structs a capitalized version of the variable that they're associated with. This returned, which is our base struct here, well, there's nothing here called returned. We could have called returned anything as well, but you usually call them returned or results or something like that. Remember, even though this is a single struct, what we're getting back here is an array of structs. So let's build and run, and we look at the output in the console, and it matches up with what we'd expected and what was put in the exam. Excellent. So now what we want to do is in the shows class, we want to create a show array property that's going to hold an array of these returned structs. So the show array is initially going to be an empty array, but then what we want to do is after we get the array of returned data and get data, we want to assign the data that we get back into show array. And we're eventually going to use this show array to get the data that we're going to use to populate our table view. So first, back in the shows class, let's create a class property. We'll do that right underneath the URL string property. Var show array colon, and then in brackets capital returned equals, and again we're initializing this returned array to an empty array at first, so it's open and close square bracket. Then we head down to our do catch clause, and we can simply say self.showArray equals returned. But if we option click on top of show array, we see that's an array of returned, and so is this returned constant that we created. So what we can do is we can actually get rid of the returned constant, just copy self.showArray, paste it over let returned, and we're just decoding our JSON directly into the show array property of our shows class. Let's just change this print statement down here. Instead of printing out returned, we're going to print out self.showArray, and this finishes up part 1. So in part 2, we'll set up our table view, and we'll start to show some of this data in that table view.